Tonight's guest is Genesis Sunfire. He is a former pro rugby player, a personal trainer, and a breatharian who travels and teaches his practice in lectures and workshops. He will discuss his 15-year journey and the misconceptions about it. This is referred to in Taoism and religious and spiritual traditions. Christian saints were even said to be kept alive with the power of the Holy Spirit, and this practice is said to be the original state of humans, in fact. Genesis engages the mind, body, and spirit, incorporating metaphysics, fitness, and an intuition into his lifestyle. Please help us welcome Genesis Sunfire to the show. Welcome, Genesis.
Hello, how are you doing?
How are you doing? Nice to have you here. Why don't you begin with telling everyone your journey to get how you got to where you are today? What occurred in your life?
It'll be a very boring show.
The Cliff Notes version would be good.
Basically, in my own head, in my own way, I believe that for some reason a switch was flicked, or it seemed that way, for me to have a choice to make. For some reason, I was more sensitive, I was more awake, I was more aware of a great change and a great moment. God knows what age I was now, maybe, I want to say 29-ish. But it was like the moment in the Matrix movie where Morpheus meets Neo and he gives him the choice, take the red pill or the blue pill. That's exactly what it was for me. It was like, do you want to take longevity or death, slow death? And at that moment I didn't see it as that, but in hindsight, that's what I can say it was. At that moment, it was a kind of a rebirth moment. You know, and weeks previously, I was just noticing how men my age all looked the same. They all had the belly, the stomach hanging over the belt. They all looked as if they were aging rapidly, or deteriorating is more of a right term. And they all look sick.
Thanks to steroids in food and everything else, antibiotics and
everything else,
gluten and fructose and all that nasty hybrid stuff.
Yep. And the actual cooking process of the so-called food that we put in our bodies. Yes. Which I believe is an actual, it may not be the plan, but I believe it's the actual key to aging. I believe this is what brings on old age. It is this habit called eating that we have in our society. I don't believe old age is natural. I don't believe it's real.
Well, one of the common longevity studies that have been done on flies and worms pertaining to caloric restriction or eating less, and it's consistently been shown that when organisms eat less, they live longer, and there's many theories for this. But even orthodox science today would agree that eating less would increase your longevity.
Well, I'm not a fly or a worm. I've been called much worse. But I can totally relate to that, and I can totally agree. One thing I will say, though, to that is that healing is what bridges the gap in between making this transition. I believe there must be moves, there must be efforts made first to actually heal where you're at. Because some people just cannot do this thing, just can't change their diet straight off the bat. They need to actually heal, and I believe strongly that the body goes through a healing process that it needs to take its own time to do. And I believe with this lifestyle, even the raw food lifestyle, the fruitarian lifestyle, I believe that many people kill themselves to skip that healing process. And for some reason, they're just so eager to get to a destination, you know, instead of learning their trade from the journey.
The body changes every 7 years with a different metabolism, so maybe that would wipe that out of the equation if we all did this practice that you do. Maybe your body wouldn't have to go through so much change, and you could remain younger looking and more youthful. How long were you a fruitarian? Could you explain that process?
I went through that process for about 10 years, I think. And I got to tell you, Catherine, I'm not too good with dates now. It's been that long.
No problem.
But roughly about 10 years.
Well, Genesis, to set some groundwork, how would you define breatharianism? What is it?
Breatharianism to me is when you're at the stage in your evolution when your body can self-sustain itself. I don't do the whole prana thing. I don't do the whole love and light thing, meditation thing, or the breathing thing. I believe 100% in the body and its physical workings, in bringing it back to getting the body to do what it was supposed to do in the first place. So that's breatharianism for me. The term breatharianism is such crap. Breatharianism doesn't even exist. It doesn't exist. This whole concept that we don't have anything is total bullshit. It's all a scam, it's all a hoax, it's all a lie. A big distraction. I can't emphasize that enough.
There has been many independent researchers in different fields that have said that we will one day evolve to live like plants in their belief and absorb what we need from the surroundings around us. So you're like a Renaissance man for this movement, really, if that's truly how we will evolve.
Well, I guess I'm the only one, because no one's saying the stuff that I'm saying about this breatharianism.
I've heard a lot of ET researchers say that we will evolve to be that way, not researchers in the health industry.
Right. I mean, either way, I'm still the only person that's saying these things, and I feel quite passionately about it, because the reason why I say these things is because the term breatharianism is basically, it's more held up by skeptics than it is actual people living it. The skeptics are more passionate about getting the message out there that you, as a breatharian, wake up one morning and you just don't eat or drink. That's not how it goes. This is why people are being hospitalized. This is why people are dying all over the world, trying to practice a definition that is actually put forth by the skeptics, trying to uphold it and trying to live it.
How do you teach it, people that come to your workshops?
I don't teach it.
You don't?
I do not teach breatharianism. No, how can I? It doesn't exist.
Okay.
It does not exist. The reason why I say it doesn't exist is because we produce saliva. Just to name one thing, if you just counted saliva in the mix, that would make us natural liquidarians. Period.
Interesting.
If you want to label it. But no one talks about saliva. None of the so-called breatharians talk about saliva. Nobody brings that in the mix at all. We breathe in liquids, vapors in the air, the chemical composition of the air. We take in the elements of nature, and I believe strongly in the elements of nature, working side by side with our beings, with our physical bodies.
And we also take in all those chemicals that they're spraying in the sky and putting into plants.
Well, just like the trees, we filter it. I strongly believe that's what our digestive system is originally for. That's what it's evolved to do, is to filter. I don't believe that the digestive system we have now is what it was in its original state.
You say that once you do this process, your internal organs shrink, right?
Yes. So I know for a fact that it's not. This is what hunger is. Hunger doesn't exist either. Hunger is the sensation of your organs shrinking. But we're conditioned to believe that it's something that we need to stop, or else we'll die. And it just so happens that if you keep your stomach stretched by ingesting man-made foods or even raw foods, you will never get to that point where you're back to your original state, or even remembering your original state. We're conditioned to eat breakfast, lunch and dinner, and snacks in between to keep our stomachs stretched, so we never go through this process, so we never realize.
Genesis, there's a lot of breatharian literature out there today that advocate becoming a breatharian in 21 days or 8 days, and even in some cases, and you said that this would be dangerous. I understand there's more of a process involved.
There's a process involved. First of all, you've got to give the body time to adjust. I say, people say 21 days, people say 8 days. I say 15 years at least, an adjustment time to fully ground yourself in this,
do it safely,
to learn your trade, to do it safely, so it's not starvation. The so-called breatharians, I hate being called a breatharian because I know it doesn't exist, and I'm not going to uphold a lie or a scam or a hoax, because the damn thing doesn't exist, you know?
What would you rather call it?
These so-called breatharians are people off charging thousands of pounds, euros, telling people that they're going to be food-free and water-free at the end of a workshop, or 8 days, or 3 weeks, or whatever. It's a total rip-off. How many of these people are actually getting out of these workshops and not eating and drinking consistently, long-term? Very few, very, very few. I know many people that have been to these workshops and they come out and they're straight back into the nearest Burger King.
What would you prefer to call
Seriously.
it, other than breatharianism?
I have no idea, and maybe it's up to me to make up the name.
Maybe.
Seriously.
You're right, really. Maybe you should.
Human, because there is nothing. You don't do anything. You're just a human again. Simple as that.
We should have a name for foodie.
We do, zombies. No, I'm joking, I don't mean that. It's the way this breatharian circus. That's what it is. It's a circus. Operates right now. It's like ridiculous. You've got people claiming to be breatharians and they don't live the way they say they're living. I don't care if people mess up. I don't care if people eat, because at the end of the day, you can't fake truth. If I had to eat now, my message would still be the same, and it would still ring true, because the message is the truth.
Just for the audience's purpose, you do not drink any liquids?
Yes, I do. I drink liquids, and it's my saliva, and the body creates it whatever it needs at any given moment. Also, I'm not going to do this whole I don't have anything crap, because I do when I do my cleanses, because I believe I'm still in the stage of healing. Every so often. So when my cleansing, I'll do my intestinal washes.
That makes sense.
I don't believe I can just stop living. I can just live in this society full of stress and stop cold turkey, not eat or drink, and live happily ever after. No, I sense a being that I need to heal. I need to go through a process, and I need to clean as thoroughly as possible and be a clear vessel first before I do any of that.
And as you always say, it's an ongoing process.
It's an ongoing process. It may be that I don't stop, because the way I see it, the way I'm experiencing things now, is the amount of stress living in this world, dealing with the people that are here. It's like I know for a fact I produce toxins just from that. So I have those in my body. I can't have those in my organs. So I need to continue to cleanse.
Toxins just from pollution, I'm sure still.
From being on this planet now, because nothing's pure, nothing's clean. Absolutely nothing's clean.
Genesis, it took years for you to transition to this state. I understand you went through a couple of stages. Could you talk a little bit about your process and how you reached this point? I understand it's dangerous to simply stop eating all in one day, and the stages you went through were gradual purifications of your diet. What were those stages?
I want to say I started out as a regular cooked food eater, went through briefly veganism, fruitarian for 10 years, roughly 10 years, liquidarian for roughly 6, and now.
Well, what was the guiding force behind your transitions? Did you read about it, ask any orthodox nutritionists? How did you know what to do?
I didn't. I just went by trial and error and learning my trade. And basically, if I'm to be really honest with you, I'm going to tell you that I was guided. By what, I don't know, but I was definitely guided. My intuition, everything. I believe I've been molded. I've been put through certain initiations, and it's molded and shaped me to the person I am now. There was nobody to help me. Nobody gave me a cat hell's chance. Even me going fruitarian was too extreme for everybody, basically. I came under fire, great attack, from day one throughout the whole 16, 17 years.
And people always try to discredit what they don't understand, and that's the sad part about it.
Always try to discredit. I mean, there's so much crap about me on the internet, on YouTube. It's unreal. If you're real, you will piss people off, and that's another thing. They run off and write stuff about you on the internet, just to be a pain in the butts, And what people are crying over and fussing over now is not breatharianism. It's not lifestyle. What they're crying and fussing over about is just a distraction.
They've even tried to discredit the Buddha Boy and had film crews there trying to watch him take a drink of something or try to catch him doing something that they thought that he was doing behind their back. How is your story a little different from his, Genesis?
I've no idea, but I know, I mean, I could talk to you about trust all night and all day. With this lifestyle, you're an instant liar, an instant fake, and an instant fraud. So you have to deal with that. You know, and that comes part and parcel with the whole taking 15 years to deal with this stuff, because society is going to just lynch you straight away.
You're in safe company. We believe you.
Oh, I don't want you to. You don't have to. It means nothing to me, because at the end of the day, it's a message that is the truth, and I can only tell that. I don't want anybody to actually trust me and believe that I'm pure and safe, because I'm not.
Genesis, I have a couple of more nuts and bolts questions before we get to the really important stuff.
I'm not even sure if I answered the last one. I'm sorry.
I think you did. You said, I don't know, the difference between you and Buddha Boy. He's a breatharian as well.
Yeah. Right, yeah. I think what I was talking about was a level of trust that goes on, that comes with this lifestyle, or the lack of trust in this society. And that kind of answers the question as to why people are so determined to find fault or to catch the person out. You know, I mean, I went through that. I hid the fact for about 2 years. You know, I was sneaking around with 2-liter bottles of salt water, doing my flushes, you know, hoping nobody would see me, because then people would say I'm not a breatharian, and just stupid stuff like that. I used to get nervous about going into supermarkets, you know, just in case someone would see me. I'd be getting candles and stuff, and I'd be, you know, nervous and running out of the supermarket just in case somebody would see me and stuff like that, you know. It was ridiculous. But that's the level of, what's the word I'm looking for? That you know, this society is so removed. It's easier to believe that there's a white guy with a white beard, white robes and sandals called God up in the heavens than it is for someone to believe that you can live without man-made food that we invented. It's much easier to believe in unidentified flying objects than it is to believe in the idea of not eating and drinking.
But would we believe there's a kitchen in those UFOs in the air? Or would the ETs be breatharian as well? We may have to get past that one.
Who knows? We probably don't when they land anyway.
Picking up the rest of those nuts and bolts, your step from liquidarianism, drinking only juices, to not drinking juice anymore seems like one of the biggest steps. What made you one day decide to not drink juice anymore, and was that even the hardest part of your transition?
No, by then that was the easiest part at that point, and it's the most enjoyable part. Liquidarianism was heaven. It was just bliss. You know, I would be training in the hot sun, and after training I would just take a juice, and it was just heaven. My comfort levels with having liquid in my stomach kind of shrunk a bit, and it just, over time, it just reached a point. I think it was about 6 years. I was on orange juice alone, and the amounts I was having with that just got less and less until it reached a point where I was literally just having a glass of water a day. And then from that, it was my saliva. A lot of things change as you're doing this, slowly but surely. For instance, you actually produce more saliva once you reach the point where you don't want outside sources anymore. You go through a little adjustment period, and you actually start to produce more saliva. And here's an interesting thing. They always say to drink 8 glasses of water. It's a known fact that the body needs 1.5 liters of water a day to function. And that is just exactly the same amount of saliva that is produced all by itself, all by the body itself. So it's already going on. The body is already doing it.
There's comments in the chat room that say Keshi is drawing elements from the air electronically. He says we could live on solid CO2. And there's another question. I think we touched on this earlier, Genesis, but the person is asking, how big of a role do salts play in the absorption of liquids from the atmosphere? That's the question I got.
I've no idea. I'm not a scientist. I just follow my intuition. I do what I'm guided to actually do. I don't question the technicalities, because that just means I don't trust. And my ego isn't such that I need to know so I can talk about it to people. I don't. For me, I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing this for anybody else.
For cleansing and for your own well-being is what
this is for my cleansing, and basically this is what I'm guided to actually do. So I've learned on my journey just to not question. There's no point.
Have you ever had encounters with any ET beings?
I don't think I have. Not that I know of. Not that I'm conscious.
Okay.
Genesis, I presume that at one point in your transition you began to lose some weight, and it would have taken a lot of trust in your body to keep going. How was your weight loss like, and when did you start regaining that weight?
I'll tell you, mate, I lost weight as a fruitarian in my first stages of fruitarianism. And within weeks, I looked like a concentration camp person on crack. I looked awful, absolutely awful. You know, kids would say stuff to me in the street. Total strangers would say horrible things to me. Total strangers. You know, I've been in the market buying some fruits, and the checkout person would say, "Oh, you need to get some real food." Just stuff like that. It was awful, and it was very hard, especially for a male coming from an athletic background. It was awful. It was a huge challenge. A huge challenge because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what was going on. But the thing for me is that I never felt in danger. I never felt in harm's way. And I've got to tell you, in the audience, I didn't deal with it in the best ways. It was a challenge, and I ran from it. I ran from it any chance I could. I went back to cook food many times because of this reason. Because I couldn't have my self-esteem, my ego couldn't handle looking like a stick insect on crack. So
understandable. All part of your process of trial and error.
Oh yeah, and you know, nobody would help me. Nobody was there for me, and I was getting crap from people on the street, and you know, on top of going through the whole detox thing. So I'm not going through a nice time as it is, you know. But I didn't start to level out until maybe 3 or 5 years after, and even then, I didn't really level out. I didn't really get the weight back. I just had all the dents filled in. You know,
you definitely have muscle tone. You're cut for someone who does not eat. So I think that's saying a lot right there, you know.
Well, no, you know what? It's not, Catherine. This is it, because this is our natural state. This is our natural state. So really, it's not amazing, and it's not great. It's not a great thing to do. This is our natural state. This is our birthright. This is how we should be. It's like a crack addict saying that someone that's not a crack addict is amazing. It's not amazing. They're just not a crack addict.
Many people end up starving for various reasons, either trying breatharianism or an apparent lack of food. Why would you think that someone would starve?
I don't know the technicalities of it, but it's definitely got something to do with addiction, stress, you know, the things that's actually put in the food as well. The addictive substances in the food, the cooking process itself, in regards to raw food, because actually, having said that, you will still get similar effects with raw foods. I believe that there's some kind of ingrained conditioning that we have to sedate ourselves, if that makes any sense.
So food has become a drug, really.
Yeah, but I still believe that even without that, because it's the same in my experience, even on raw foods, there is a drive. There's a drive to sedate yourself, even to some extent to harm yourself, you know, in terms of escapism, putting yourself under a blanket and just, you know, just getting away from it all. There's very few people that can actually live comfortably with themselves, unsedated, in silence, with no stimulation.
Genesis, I would like to add something. It's common for people transitioning to veganism from meat eating to experience apparent sickness, which happens because of the detox of all the toxins in the meat. And they may think that it's just the vegetables that's making them sick. And it's also common for someone who has eaten meat after being vegan to get sick again, which shows that it's actually the meat and other cooked foods they're eating that's making them sick. And also, there's agreement in Orthodox science that when you heal from some diseases, you go through a Hexheimer reaction or a detox reaction. As you lose your fat, all of the toxins in it spill into your bloodstream, and that can be a big shock. And even with other drugs, such as alcohol, with alcohol addiction, alcoholism, if one quits alcohol too quickly, they can die. They can die from withdrawal, and other drugs can kill you from withdrawal as well, from the toxic shock. So it may make more sense to try to gradually transition to breatharianism as you have to mitigate that shock, or else, just as an alcoholic quitting cold turkey, we may kill ourselves in that sense, in addition to the psycho-spiritual aspects you mentioned.
Well, I think from my experience, I mean, you're right. In my experience, you're 100% right. The gradual transition is key. Also, the body has its own wisdom, and from my experiences with cleansing, your body will only let go of so much at one time. And there's great wisdom in that, because like you said, you could die from this stuff, you know, if it was all to go at one go. And it's not just the meat. I can't single out meat. I can't single out alcohol. You're talking about generations of degeneration, you know, that you're almost like lifting a curse. That's my best analogy of this journey, is that you're lifting a curse, because this thing is deep. When you actually uncover, get away from the whole breatharian label, and actually dig down deep and start doing your cleansing, which I don't think many people that go on this journey actually do. And one thing I want to add too is that my destination wasn't to be food-free and water-free. I was quite content and happy being a fruitarian, to be honest, but my evolution kept me going, my tuition kept me going, and this is where I've ended up. So I kind of want to make that really clear, that I didn't have that wisdom in the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I just trusted my intuition and whatever was going on I didn't have a background in spirituality, in New Age stuff, in anything esoteric. I was just me.
I saw a short documentary about a pregnant couple who were, I guess you could say, 90% breatharians. And this ties into the question we just received in the chat room. Should this be something we should be introducing to children, or is it more of a reverse engineering process of eating first, then reversing that process?
Let me tell you what this thing is. This thing is the biggest lie on the planet. This thing is an attack on the human body to keep us down. God knows why I just said that. It just came to me. Seriously, this should be broadcasted on the news. I mean, in this society, we're not stupid. We know what's going on. We know smoking's bad for us. You know, they have on the smoking packet, smoking kills, right? So these people tell you what cigarettes do.
They didn't do that until they were mandated to do that by reversal of laws and things like that. So they don't always just tell us what's good and bad for us. So that's why, you know, everybody's fighting this Prop 37 from Monsanto in California, and it passing, because that's a step in the right direction at least, you know. And like you said, it is a hard process, and you know, people will do what they can do in their own time and from their own spiritual being and what their body is telling them to do, just as yours did.
I believe that this lifestyle, which I guess in some way I'm going in the direction of doing, is demystifying this thing, is bringing this thing back down to earth and making it understandable. Because, you know, this thing where we believe that we need man-made food that we invented to live. I've had talks where people are shaking their hands, furious at me, shouting at me, saying, "You need food to live." And I'll just reply back, then why do we die? Why do we still die? The fact that you believe that, and the fact that we still die after all this time on the planet, is just screaming at you that something not quite right. So we all know something's going on. We all know something isn't quite right, because we're still, after all this time on the planet, doing this habit, sickness and disease, obesity, cancers, running rife in this society, you know. So to answer the question, I mean, this, I don't know how it would be done or how it would be approached, because we're already way past, to me, we're way past the point of explaining this thing. So I don't know how it's going to be done, but yeah, I think it should be talked about in schools. I think the effects of the food that we eat should be talked about more in schools. I think real health should be talked about more in schools. I think, gosh, you know, just to be able to take care of yourself spiritually should be talked about more in schools. None of this crap that we're teaching in schools that makes no sense at all. life skills, real life skills, need to be put in schools. So yeah, all this stuff needs to be thought about as to how it should be approached and brought into line. You know, as far as children, gosh, they're your best teachers.
Yeah, they
They're
sure
your
are.
best teachers. Because this is how it is, right? If mothers actually woke up, and this may seem a bit strong, it may seem a bit harsh, but if mothers actually woke up to the fact that after all this time poisoning their children,
Yes.
after all this time,
You don't know how much I am upset with myself. I have a 10-year-old, and I got her so many shots when she was little, and I don't think I ever forgive myself for that, really. It really, once a lot of people do wake up to these things, you know, they will feel a lot of guilt.
well, that's not my intention. I'm not saying it so they can rub, you know, to rub people's nose in it.
that.
I'm saying it because this lie, information is being kept from us, and this is how it's being done. And the sad fact is, the reason why I'm in mothers is because it's us that are maintaining this system ourselves. We actually have the power to stop it, but for the most part, we're too sedated and we're too addicted and we're too conditioned to actually do anything about it. In fact, we're quite happy to die of cancer most of the time. Most people, we're quite happy to die of alcoholism, you know, because it's a fun way to go out. Because it is work. It is work. I don't mean that in any disrespect, but I've known people that have been diagnosed with cancer or liver damage, and you know, they're on a life or death situation, and they just said, you know what, I ain't stopping. I'm going out on a high. So you know, it's like, damn, what kind of society is this? It's just like suicide. You know, you have fun until you die. And there's no thought of real health or fitness. There's no real thought of longevity. You know what? There's no thought of, you know, I'm going to live my life as healthy as I can, as strong as I can, and as fit as I can for as long as I live, which could possibly quite be hundreds, if not thousands of years, if not forever.
About just a ballpark. I know you're not, you know, you don't know everybody in the world, but about how many breatharians have you actually met that are solid breatharians?
None.
Okay. Because it doesn't exist. I forgot.
This thing doesn't exist. This thing doesn't exist.
How
Seriously.
many people practice what you
We all do it.
Okay.
Everybody on this planet does it. Everybody on this planet does it when we go to sleep. We're so-called breatharians when we go to sleep.
True.
We don't drink for how many hours? 6 hours, 8 hours sometimes. But it's fine then, right? But when we do it during the day, all hell breaks loose. That's why the first meal of the day is break fast, because you're breaking the fast. So you know, people might get mad, you know, because they think I'm saying don't eat. But we all do it when we go to sleep, and we still wake up in the morning, perfectly fine. So at least at that level, you know, we are doing something good.
Yes. Do you mind if we take a caller before we go to break?
Go for it.
All right.
Yeah.
Hello, you're online with Truth Connections. Who's calling, please?
My name is Ethan.
Hi, Ethan. Welcome to the show. Do you have a question for Genesis?
Yeah, thanks for having the show. I'm really enjoying it, and thank you for your
Thanks.
inspiration, Genesis. You might have talked about it a little bit on the show, but I'd love to hear more about your experiences with fitness. Not necessarily what we should do as far as what kind of fitness, but just the relationship between the fitness and your evolution and how they were related.
Buddy, I believe the universe chose me for this, and it equipped me with the experiences that I needed to shape me, and fitness has always been with me. And in relation to my lifestyle, my evolution, I can honestly tell you it's vital. You cannot live without it. You cannot live without being vigorously active. Fitness as we know it, and you have to understand this, Ethan, everything on this planet, everything in this society is a lie. Everything.
I'm with you on that.
Fitness is a lie, and the way we do it is a big lie. I just like to say, be vigorously active. And that doesn't mean spending 3 hours or 2 hours in a gym. That is not only what fitness is about. You can be sports-specific fitness, where you train for your sport, you do certain things for your sport, but if you're just Joe Bloggs in a perfect world, there's no need for fitness. Absolutely no need for fitness. Because we'd be moving, we'd be active, and we'd be clear vessels, so there'd be no need for fitness. Fitness in this society is something that now is used so you can eat more cakes at Christmas. Oh, I'll just run it off. I'll just start my fitness regime in the new year. You know, it's an excuse for binging basically. But like I say, fitness is vital in my evolution, and I strongly believe everybody else's evolution, because if you don't move, you don't produce the fuel. That whole quote of if you don't move it, you lose it, as far as fitness goes. You know, if you don't move it, you lose it.
Right.
So that's my experience with fitness, and for me, what's worked really well, short, sharp bursts of vigorous movement. You know, I've done the whole rugby thing, I've done the whole eat big to get big thing, I've done the whole chronically overtraining thing, and it just serves to break the body down.
You just described to more of a quick workout, like a 15-20 minute workout, but a vigorous one?
If that.
Okay.
If that. I've actually made up a 5-minute workout.
Cool.
A 5-minute resistance workout, which is bloody good. And people feel invigorated afterwards. Totally invigorated afterwards, instead of being torn down, you know?
Right.
So yeah, there is a great wisdom to be learned based on the fact that everything in this society is based on a lie. Even, shall we say, the fitness part.
With fitness, the body becomes more efficient, even just with the food it brings in or energetically. So it seems like it would carry over into, as we evolve, that often we think we lose energy through fitness, but it seems almost the opposite. So I don't know if you could share anything about that, or maybe you already did.
I think I just did, but
yeah.
But as I said, I mean, the whole being active thing, I mean, it makes you happier. That's scientifically proven. It makes you happier. The effects of it are good, you know. But I kind of sense where you're going, Ethan, and I'm trying to get to it. Fitness, because I know there's a little secret that nobody really knows. And I've kind of alluded to it before, whereas you must move first. You've got to move first before your fuel is produced. I strongly believe that. And there is a truth there. And I believe that there is, I'm kind of struggling to explain, but there is kind of something hidden there. There's a huge nugget of gold in there somewhere, because we actually make the energy. I don't believe there's any such thing as energy. I believe we are that energy. We create the fuel that we need to move. But we have to move first. We have the power. We don't have to rely on anything from outside. That we have that power. You can explain it any number of ways, but to me, that is what it boils down to. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
I feel better explaining it like that, because we can explain it, we can interpret things any way we want. But for me, after all the interpretations I've heard, after all my guesswork and coming with nothing, that is what I've come down to, is that we are the power. We are the self-sustaining universes. We are that. We walk in universes. And we are gods of that universe. So we're gods.
Remember your power.
Yeah.
Ethan, we can learn from our experience as well. We're told that food gives us energy, but you could be sitting in front of the television eating the potato chips, and you don't even have enough energy to change the channel, and then your friend calls, and suddenly you leap out of the chair, you leap out of your couch, and you're ready to go out on a night on town. Or you can start exercising for a week and not change your diet at all, and suddenly have more energy, and no increase of food happened. And contrary to our belief, we can eat, and after we eat, we feel tired, and we have to sleep it off.
Check this out. This is what I've come to also, is that the body functions in spite of food, not because of it. In spite. So the activity does help you deal with that. It does help you tone your insides. It does help strengthen you. But it's not because the food that you're eating is giving you the energy, or it's good for you. It's actually the opposite.
Amazing stuff.
That's why for me, fitness is vital. You can't live without it. Your life depends on it. And this is the thing in the whole spiritual thing. You know, people are so sedate. I believe this whole spiritual thing is also a huge distraction to weaken people. Because, you know, someone attacks you and you're taught, you're conditioned to be a spiritual being and turn the other cheek.
people out there who don't walk the walk and talk the talk, who talk the talk but don't walk the walk. So that's...
Well, this is for me. I've seen people following the spiritual path. Many people follow various spiritual paths, especially the New Age paths, just go downhill, get weaker, and get more dependent on images, on cards, on certain color clothing or whatever. You know, it's just an industry. And as I said before, we have that power if we can just strip everything away, which is, to me, is what, for want of a better term, breatharianism does.
It's got to be very freeing, you know, for you. You know, when there's a hurricane, you don't need to worry about having water and food because you have everything you need right in your backpack, you know. It's got to make life a whole lot simpler.
You know what? If I was naked, I would have everything. I'm a self-sustaining universe, you know. I've got fresh water being produced every 5 seconds. Fresh living water being produced every 5 seconds, if nothing else.
It's amazing that the body still does that, because I think that's a big question with everybody. What about saliva?
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
My thing about the body, nobody gives the body credit.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying this as a fruitarian. Nobody gives the body credit. These bloody fruitarians, raw foodists, they're bragging about fruits, they're posting pictures of their fruits on Facebook, you know. But the body, it's the body. He's doing it in spite of what you're putting inside. What you're putting inside is pollution. You're contaminating yourself. If the body hasn't produced it, it's contamination. Nothing. It's period. We're just conditioned. Fruit tastes nice to eat it, but really, fruits are their own living beings. They're their own species. In my belief system.
Yes, I know you had an experience in the grocery store once with watermelons. You want to?
You saw that video, right?
I did my homework.
You saw that video. Yeah. It was like, to be blunt about it, it was like a bunch of watermelons just stopped me and talked to me and said, you know what, why are we being kept like this? Why are we being kept like slaves on a boat? Why?
You telepathically communicated with them, really.
God knows what happened, but those are the visuals. And I was like stunned. It seemed like a while, you know, and those are the visuals. It was horrible. It was morbid. It was morbid. It was like aliens coming down and saying, what the heck are you guys doing on this planet? I just felt so ashamed.
Wow, that's wild.
I was liquidarian, I think, at that point. I was so ashamed.
And anyone who has seen the sacred life of plants knows that plants have feelings.
Oh, what? That is the one.
Yeah.
I urge you to watch The Sacred Life of Plants.
Absolutely.
And the mere fact that, you know, we've survived on this planet eating the crap that we eat and polluting ourselves and have survived and we're still here, for me is proof that we are, for want of a better term, breatharians.
Yes,
because the body has been operating in spite of it, not because of it.
In spite of it.
Not because of...
Isn't that something?
So every bonus, everything that we think is good and we give the credit to food, it's not, it's the body.
Goes to show you how divine we really are if we can still function in spite of it, you know?
Catherine, if we can still function after in slow suicide, after suffering from all these corporations, global manslaughter, because that's what it is. Global manslaughter. That's what the society is going through. Global manslaughter, slow suicide. And we are the ones that are maintaining the system, not the secret societies, not the secret families, not corporations. We are the ones that actually have the power to say no. We're going to stop consuming it. We're going to stop maintaining it for you, and we're actually going to start to live our own lives and be the divine kings and queens that we are.
Absolutely.
But we're so sedated and we're so addicted and we're so conditioned. It's going to take a while for us to wake up.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, and the problem is that with this lifestyle, you can't make money off it because you don't need anything.
That's
with
also
the vegan,
where they want control, you know?
Vegan lifestyle, you can make vegan burgers. And the funny thing is, the same people that are making the vegan burgers are the same people that are making the real burgers.
I don't doubt that one bit.
It's a fact. It's true.
No, I believe it.
It's true.
I believe it.
They're all buying each other out. So even the vegans aren't missing out on the suicide, the mass murder.
Well, Ethan, I hope we answered your question. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, you did.
Thanks,
Thank you
Ethan.
very much.
Great. You have a great night.
You too.
Okay. And we're going to try to take another caller at this time. Hello, you are live with Truth Connections. Do you have a question for Genesis?
Actually, I just wanted to say hi, Genesis. This is Gretchen, and I have 9 of his ebooks, and I've watched all his videos, and I just love his message.
Hello, Gretchen.
Hi, Genesis.
How you doing, girl? You all right?
I'm good. Nice to finally connect with you. There's a wealth of information in your poetry and in your ebooks and all of that documented information, so get out there and read that stuff, people.
You know what, Gretchen? Those books, you know what, if I was to be really spiritual about it, I would say those books were channeled from up above, and boof, that's it. So I honestly, seriously believe that, because it wasn't me. I got those books done in like a week or something like that, and it's everything I know. It's nuts and bolts, the real deal stuff that anybody that is seeking this path needs to know, because it's actually all very simple. None of this workshop shit, none of this love and light shit. It's all very grounded, earthly, simple things to do. And I think just for me to share what I went through, I think that helps more than any kind of method that anybody can teach to actually get to be something that doesn't even exist.
When you were documenting like the poetry and things like that back in the day, was that looking back at the time, or did you actually write that while you were going through those?
It was both. I did those things really quickly, and a lot of the things that I wrote were actually what I was going through at the time instantly. So I wrote about it, it would just bang, poof. And I'm not a writer. If you haven't already noticed, I'm not very clever. I'm not very articulate. These things just came flooding out.
Yeah.
And it, you know, I want to say it was my higher self with myself.
Can I make one more point quick?
Of course you can.
Okay, I was going to say the initiations that you speak about, I'm semi-familiar with that, and that's how I found your work. You know, I thought that I invented the thing that we call breatharianism. So that's how I came in to know about your work and how important it is, you know, for people to get your message. I'm just glad you took my call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like you to tell everyone where they can get your books and videos, if you don't mind.
You can get my books, and I urge everybody to go out and get my books, seriously, because they're actually what you need to know, and they're only cheap. They're a fraction of what these charlatans, I said it, charlatans are charging people for nothing.
You have a website or a place where they're sold?
You can get them from a website on genesissunfire.com, and you can contact me. I can send you a direct link to get them, and I send them myself. I send them personally. So sometimes you may need to be patient. You may have to wait a day or two, but you'll get them. They're a godsend. I mean, I wish I had those when I was starting out. You know, I've got to say, over the years, I've tried to keep my mouth shut. I've tried to be non-judgmental, but it's not my path to let this happen to people. People are getting ripped off by people that aren't even living it, or by the way they're trying to teach others to actually live.
Yes. So
they can show the rest of the people behind what they're going to go through.
No doubt.
They're not, which gives them a different interpretation of what's actually happening and what they're actually going through. You know, I've battled with the whole keeping my mouth shut over the whole social eating thing.
Some people do socially eat and say they're breatharians, right?
Yeah. But it's an oxymoron. You can't go through the process and still do that, still think it's right. Even when I do my cleansing with the saltwater flushes, each time I've done that, like I might do that for a week. After that week, I have to go through the process all over again, and I flipping hate it because it's my process to go through.
Yeah.
But I know I need to cleanse. I need to cleanse deeper. I need to chip away at the layers. I'm all for people messing up, you know, and starting over. I'm all for people doing that, but call it for what it is. I've done it millions of times. I've messed up. I'm quite open about it. I'll tell people on Facebook, I messed up today. I did this. I was depressed. I was this, whatever, you know. But call it for what it is. You're eating because you want to eat.
Yeah.
You know? And I say that because if you're going to teach people to not eat, then you better be living it. You better be walking it too.
Absolutely.
And I know for a fact, with the lessons I've been put through with the universe, I have to earn the right to be able to get in front of people and talk, because then it's real.
Genesis, you liken food to a drug. It's addictive and it sedates us. And most of us that eat eat as a coping mechanism, really to make things less real. Do you have any coping mechanisms?
I have music, I have myself, because once you let go of all this stuff, the real self comes through. And with I've got to tell you, mate, and again, this goes with my whole 15 years thing about learning your trade. With the lessons I've been put through, I have learned so much, and I've learned to deal with things. And I've learned the whole escapism thing, because I know what comes with it. I've learned my trade, and I know that the key is to actually be me. It's to be the real me, and that is what is trying to be covered up. The real you and the real me. That's what this shit does. It covers up. It shuts everything down, and it covers everything up. And before you know it, it's a lifestyle. And before you know it, you can't live without it. And before you know it, you've got marketing people targeting you for cornflakes, for cheese sandwiches, for this, that, and the other, for soda. This is how the food psychology has evolved. It's actually disgusting. And I have friends that are conspiracy theorists, and the stuff they come out with. I believe that there's got to be an element of truth in all of that. You know, about the fluoride being in the tap water and all this stuff, and chemical this, chemical that, chemtrails, all of this stuff, and it's to squash life.
There's a movie, not a documentary, coming out called Branded. Have you heard of it, Genesis?
No, I haven't.
It looks like it's around the psychological sales approach to food and the food industry, and how they use marketing to seduce and to make you think you need something. It might be something you want to check out.
Even supermarkets, food and things are strategically placed on shelves.
They spin scents and smells to make you want to buy things.
They have scientists, Catherine, employ and pay them large amounts of money to know you better than you know yourself.
Or so they think, right?
Or so they think.
Yeah.
I know, I used to pass around a set of videos on Facebook, and it was how to get fat without really trying. If you go on YouTube and tap that in, how to get fat without really trying, and that's kind of on the same lines as that Branded movie you're talking about, Catherine.
Yeah, I believe so.
It even goes into how they target children.
Exactly. They totally target children. It's like a drug to them. Mom, I need that Happy Meal toy. I need those French fries that they're going to still look the same 10 years from now. You know?
I saw my daughter go from a happy-go-lucky fruitarian. From her first 5 years of life, she was raised fruitarian. And I saw her go from happy-go-lucky fruitarian to death warmed up.
Wow. When
she went vegan.
I'm sure that's hard for you to deal with.
You know? And it was disgusting, Catherine. It was heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. And again, it goes with the whole waking up and realizing that you're a part of her old age. You're a part of her deterioration, of her polluting a young child's body to the point where they get sick. I did that.
The vaccination's the same way I feel about it, really.
Yeah. I say that just to highlight us being hoodwinked, us being conditioned into believing it's normal, believing sickness and disease is normal, even in children. I saw my daughter's immune system fight for dear life, fight for survival, and then just packing.
Yeah.
The first time she got the flu, I was crying because her whole body ached and she was crying and pain. I was like, you know what? I was a part of that.
How long has it been since you've been sick? Since you're on that topic?
God knows.
Oh, that's great.
God knows. With most things now, it's just reached a point where I don't even know anymore.
I understand that.
I obviously went through the whole detox thing and all that, and all the joy that brings, but, you know, really sick, I can't even remember.
That's great.
It's tremendous, and like you said, Catherine, it's so liberating. When you actually get outside the box, you actually get outside the matrix, it's amazing.
There's nothing to worry about,
Absolutely
really.
Amazing.
Except coming in from the rain, there's nothing to worry about.
Nothing. This thing is real. This thing is possible. It's possible. I used to scoff at people when they used to say immortality. Now I believe it's real. Now I believe I can bloody touch it.
That was another question I had for you. Do you know if this extends people's lives past 100 years old by doing this practice?
Oh, I've seen this extend me. I've seen it extend various body parts of me that should have been gone ages ago, because I played rugby, I have teeth smashed in. I shouldn't even have any teeth. But I know by the grace of this, my higher self, that my teeth were saved. The teeth I have left were saved.
You actually had a very life-threatening injury, didn't you, from rugby?
No, it wasn't life-threatening, but I could have actually been paralyzed, but it wasn't really life-threatening. Yeah, I nearly broke my neck, amongst other things, you know, and nearly every other weekend I had my teeth coming through my lips or coming through my mouth, and headbutts and punches and knees in the face and stuff like that. So I've been through some stuff in regards to abusing the body, you know.
And that has helped you heal as well, doing what you do. It helps you heal from your injuries as well as staying healthy.
My neck injury was healed as I went through Tchnienie.
Right.
Literally at the time I went through Tchnienie. Maybe about a month after, 3 months after, bang, healing. Whereas on the cooked food, I went about a year without even being able to move my neck. I couldn't even move my neck for a year. And I didn't go to the doctors. I didn't go and seek help. I just thought, you know, macho, it'll just heal. And I've experienced these things. And that's why the whole 15-year thing, you have to cultivate your truth. Nobody can, because when I went through Tchnienie, everybody told me I was going to die. Everybody told me, you can't just eat fruits. You have to eat this. You have to eat that. You have to have water. And I was already doing it for 3 weeks. So I knew I had 3 weeks of my own truth to depend on. And everything that people warned me about never happened. It was all their projections. It was all their fear. They couldn't do it, so they tried to tell me I couldn't do it. And I was crazy to even try. And these are fellow fruitarians, fellow raw foodists.
Yes.
The extent of the challenges and the people that are going to try and attack you and come against you and try and, you know, for going against the grain, you're going to come against fierce opposition from even your own friends, family, loved ones, fierce opposition. Because this thing is deep, and this goes against everything everybody believes to be true.
Yes. It questions everything they've ever learned down to the core, really. Basic sustainability for your human self, really.
Yeah. But like I say, first and foremost, we need to heal. And that's what I believe the raw food gurus are there for, with the superfoods, the supplements. They're there for the people that need to heal.
Yes.
Some of us can do it by ourselves, but some are in such condition that they need assistance. And that's why I've got to give credit to these people, you know, that these pioneers, these groundbreakers, because it's not easy. It's not easy, because just my experience alone, you're constantly attacked. Constantly. Yeah. It doesn't rest.
People always come after what they don't understand.
They don't understand. I don't tell people what I do for 2 reasons. It's none of anybody's business anymore, and it just changes their whole perception of you. I've seen it so many times. Their face just drops, and it's like, oh, so you're going to lie to my face, are you? And tell me you don't eat or drink? Okay, you fake, you fraud. I don't like you anymore. You know, that's what you become. Right. And then you have the whole trust thing, the whole watching you, going through your things when you're not there, looking for chocolate bars, looking for biscuits, looking for sandwiches, looking for whatever to incriminate you with.
That's insane to me that people do that.
That happens. That happens. I've even reached a point where I leave stuff on purpose just to find out who these people are.
Just a toy with
them. Because they can't help. No, it's not even a toy, because they can't help to tell you what they've done.
Yeah.
They can't help to correct you. So you find out who these people are. You find out what they're made of. And this is how you learn when you're liberated from this stuff.
Ego is an ugly thing.
You learn. You see what people do. It brings out the ugly in people. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not all, but the initial stages and the initial learning, the initial steps forward, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, it can be hell.
Yeah.
Things get better over time, and actually things can be quite blissful over time, but don't think it's going to be easy. All of this stuff's in my books, and this is the whole point of writing those books, is for them to stand. If I kick the bucket right now, you'll have my books, and my books will tell you everything you need to know, nothing more, nothing less.
Well, we'll make sure to add those to the website for you. Always have a direct lifeline to your books. Let's take this caller that's been holding quite a long time. You are live with Truth Connections. Do you have a question for Genesis?
Yes, I do. My name is Roxy, actually. I'm looking forward to talking to Genesis.
He's right here with us. Go right ahead, Roxy.
So what I've noticed when I'm reading about people going from raw to fruitarian and liquidarians and breatharians, nobody ever mentions urine therapy. There's so many books that talk about how the water that comes from our body can actually help our body to heal.
I don't know anything about it. I'm sure there's pros and cons with it, because, you know, there's pros and cons with cooked food. So I'm sure there's pros and cons with urine therapy. I wouldn't do it. I don't do it. I've never done it. I've never felt led to do it. Doesn't mean to say there's anything wrong with it.
Well,
I would imagine you would need to be in a real clean state in order to do that. And then when you reach this state, my state, there's not much pee to drink, which goes back to the fact that you don't really need to in the first place because of saliva.
That was my next question about bodily functions. So, do they stop altogether, or does it still happen? Mine haven't because on occasion I still ingest sea salt water. But even when I've gone without, it still hasn't. I still have dribbles here and there. But I don't like going to the toilet. It doesn't feel natural. So in terms of the whole bodily functions thing, you know, we create the need for that. Did that answer your question, Roxy?
Yeah, I mean, I have another question, but I can
go right ahead.
Okay.
Go for it.
I really hear what you're saying about being physical, and I used to be really athletic, and as I got into raw food and went through this awakening, I became less and less athletic, and I was wondering what your advice is.
Just, you have to. My take on this whole journey thing is that from day one, you have to strive to be at your best, because you have to. You have to nurture integrity, you have to nurture discipline, you have to nurture the warrior within you, you have to nurture a bulldog spirit.
You have to be gangsta Kundalini.
So seriously, from day one, you have to nurture this. Because all of these things were set up within you to stop you from this awakening, to stop you from getting out, in terms of the matrix, to stop you from being unplugged, to stop you even realizing you can be unplugged. So you have to kind of jump out yourself and observe yourself and be really focused, you know, and you really have to, if you know something, you have to do it. Not know it and then say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or make up excuses. You have to do it. You have to nurture that, because you ain't going to make it otherwise. And this is what guys like me are around, because we'll kick you up the arse. Whereas the other breatharians, the so-called love and light crowd, they ain't going to do shit for you at the end of the day. I've seen this. I've experienced this with other people, and they come to me. You may feel, you know, enlightened, super spiritual. They may stroke your ego. You might meditate under a tree and play guitar and sing Kumbaya. But at the end of the day, it's not going to get you very far. You're still going to have to do the blood and guts work. You're still going to have to do that, because I know what's beyond. If you're doing this seriously, I know what's beyond for you.
Divinity is not for sale. It takes work.
You don't really have to believe in what I say or even agree, but that's what I see.
Understood.
Unfortunately, I live in an area where some people who call themselves breatharians are from, and everybody's seen them eating. And
were they social eating?
Yeah. I told my whole midwifery class, a whole classroom of 30 women, about the possibility of being breatharian and conceiving and carrying a child and giving birth to a child. And now I feel like I've lied to like a whole classroom of midwives, and it's frustrating.
I know, I understand, and I get that too. I get people coming back and telling me that too, and this is what I have to kind of clear up for people, is that they're doing a great job as they are. They're doing a great job as they are, but in my eyes, they are kind of misleading people. They are stretching the definitions a little bit, but really, really and truly, they're just doing what they can do at that point of where they're at. Maybe they need to kick up the arse, but they're doing the best. They're probably doing the best they can, or the best that they believe they can.
Yeah.
Because again, you've got the whole spiritual thing of, you know, don't restrict yourself, don't do this, don't do that, you know. But I know for a fact that you can't mess around with your path. You have to be gung-ho on it. If you slip up, fair enough. You get back on the horse and you start again. I've messed up many times. I don't hide that fact. And again, the whole breatharian thing, I mean, you feel bad because you said all that stuff. And maybe that's because you're still holding the current definitions of what breatharianism is supposed to be.
Right.
You know, to me, these guys are still transitioning. Yeah, they shouldn't be teaching what they're teaching, because they're not qualified. They're not qualified, and you know what? They're not qualified to tell people to not eat.
Yeah.
They're not qualified to starve people.
Roxy, thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
No, but I would like to tell you, Roxy, if you're interested to learn about distilled water and urine therapy, we did a show with Andrew Norton Weber. You can find that at our YouTube channel on Truth Connections.
Thank you.
Okay? Have a blessed day.
Bye, Roxy.
Bye.
Okay, Genesis, I had a question that I know everybody wants to know, but they're too scared to
ejaculate?
They're too scared to ask it. Does the saliva also function like your reproductive system? It still keeps going?
How did I know you were going to ask that question?
That's the nicest way I could ask it. I'm sorry.
Why should it affect anything?
Well, that's what's on the top of everyone's head. They want to know how that affects if you don't drink fluid.
When you get to the sex, it's that's another secret being hidden altogether. I believe sex is like a connection.
Yeah.
With another being, and you connect.
Right.
It's not what's portrayed in this society, sex, random sex, yada yada yada, condoms, all that kind of stuff. It's actually a sacred event. It's a sacred connection with another being, with your soulmate or whoever, whatever you want to call it. And it's a kind of like a sacred thing that we have, I don't know, learned certain ways to do, certain things to do, but it's a connection. So for me, it's our original way, it's our original expression, it's our original being. So for me, there's no reason why not eating or drinking or whatever will affect that, because that is us. I mean, that's what it's for in my head. So I have a wonderful wife, Gina, and, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed in me.
I have to ask you another question.
Did that answer your first one?
I think so. I just had to ask because I know it's going to be on everyone's mind. I definitely didn't want to make you feel uncomfortable or anything about it.
No. I've been asked that before. I've been asked, how many times, and was it taste like, or all that kind of thing. I don't know about that. You're lucky. I don't usually answer them, but.
Do you still have tears as well?
I'm not an alien. All of a sudden, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed.
Well, you might not be an alien, but to do what you do makes you pretty Jedi there, Genesis.
I still sweat. And who's to say aliens don't cry too?
Exactly. I wanted to ask you a question about, I know that you've gone through a lot of changes within your soul when you're being all together. Has there been any kind of senses that has been amplified because of this process? Like, do you see auras, or do you have premonitions or anything like that?
No, but I can walk through walls now.
Can you? I know you're teasing
Much easier. I am. No, but my thing is intuition, and my senses got heightened as a Futurian in the early stages of Futurianism, like being closer to nature and stuff like that. In fact, it's quite interesting. I was telling somebody, and I didn't even realize what I said, because they asked me the same thing, and my response was, yeah, as a Futurian, I was much closer to nature, and as a, shall we say, breatharian, for want of a better term, I'm closer to my spirit, my intuition. And then it suddenly hit me, I was closer to nature because I was eating nature. And now I don't do that. I'm more closer to who I am as a person, and realizing who that is, and being happy with who that is.
That's great.
It seems that from the insights you've shared, it's a big challenge for anybody to try to become breatharian. And for those that will really become breatharian, I don't think it would very...
How?
Yes.
How? Let me stop here. I want to stop the language here, this whole breatharian thing. I would like to say it's a huge challenge for people to get out of the matrix, to get out of the system, because I don't believe it should be a quest to go breatharian. I strongly don't believe that. I strongly believe it should be a quest to evolve into whatever you want to be. To whoever you are naturally. Because once you let go of all the food and the attachments to that, and emotional stuff, and you learn your trade, the real you comes out. And I think people need to discover what that is and go for that. It may not be breatharian, it may not be raw foods, it may just be, they may have found a way to just be themselves. I don't know. But the whole breatharian thing irks me a lot. And intuitively, I don't feel it's the right way to go, or the right language.
Well, I wanted to ask what your suggestion for most people would be. Most people that would not have the will or the guts to to listen completely to their intuition, but I suppose you answer the question in that we should just do what we really know to be right, whatever that happens to be for each person.
Well, the thing is, you're not going to know 100% because you're going to be still sedated and you really can't trust yourself. What I suggest, and I know it's going to sound bad, but buy my books because there's some stuff in there that people need to know. And I go through all of it in every detail, in fine detail, no stone left unturned, you know, as to what people are going to go through. Because after reading my books, you may decide, you know what, this ain't for me. Or, wow, you might be charged up even more. But then you'll have a better understanding as to how to go about it and what to expect and to just chill out and let yourself evolve. To me, I have so much faith and trust in those books that to me, I can't trust anybody else. I can't trust any breatharian. I can't trust any expert to give advice because I've been further than anybody I know. So there's nobody out there that I can trust except my books. So like I said, if I die tomorrow or now, my books.
Well, if the true information about breatharianism, for want of a better term, if it were available to everybody, how do you think that would change this planet?
Oh, you know what? All the corporations would fall. Everything the conspiracy theorists David Icke talk about would fall. Everything would fall. It would not be sustained. It would be unsustainable because nobody's consuming it. Your mentality to consume, your mentality to maintain a system would fall. Everything would fall. Everything. I'm not going to name corporations or companies, but everything would fall. And I would hope that in the rebirth that would come after that, it would be more community-based. I mean, for me, you know what, to be honest with you, it would be hell on earth for a while because everyone will be detoxing, and there's no facilities set up for that. It's like if, you know, the whole going fruitarian thing. If everybody went fruitarian on the planet, I don't know if there will be enough fruits and veg to go around. I really don't know. To be real, I really don't know. I mean, you know, there'll be like, riots, I think, before people can actually transition. Because people are going to be, you know, thinking they're starving. People are going to be, you know, at their wits' end. People are going to be panicking. People are going to be detoxing. People are going to be thinking they're going to die. It'll be hell on earth, I think, in the beginning. But you know, unless facilities got built and all this kind of stuff, you know, to handle the job at hand, which isn't really happening at the moment that I can see. That's why it's so important for everyone to take care of themselves and do this stuff and do the flushes, do the cleansing, do the fitness themselves. Each one teach one.
Yes, and by the time people do these, I'm sure the information will be more at hand. We'll all be more educated.
And I'll be on Oprah, and my books will be on Oprah, and everyone will be able to buy the stuff on Amazon. Wouldn't that be great, huh?
It would be great.
That will be big time.
Yeah. I mean, you have the Jazz Maheens, you have the other guys, and they all have their own truth, you know, and they're all serving different people's purposes. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with these guys, you know, but then you have me also. I'm serving my purpose for whoever is out there. And when I say 15 years to transition, people laugh at me. But then I'm still in the game. I'm still in the game. As much as I've messed up, I'm still in the game.
Was it a matter of destiny for you to walk this path?
I believe so. I believe I'm just being chosen and I was molded and everything else, and just so I can show other people. The people that I do one-on-ones with, I know for a fact it's their destiny too. Because I don't do the random thing. I'm not the person to take in and mass amounts of people and, you know, and try and teach them, because that's not me. I have people come to me that are handpicked by the universe directly to me. I'm your last stop. I always tell people this. The buck stops with me. When they've come to me, they have not been listening. So I'm not for the mass audience. I'm like the Morpheus, and I unplug people. I look for those special people, or those special people come to me. They look for me, and I unplug them. That's what I do in my one-on-ones.
You mentioned that your evolution is continuing. Where do you see your evolution leading you to next?
I believe it's just the same place. The same, just more efficient, better. I'm not going to clean forever. So I believe that will stop soon. In fact, I'm getting that intuitive signal to actually stop doing that. I don't need to do it, really. I've just been going through a lot of stress recently. And, you know, for the past year, it's been incredibly stressful. So yeah, and that's my lesson, to not be dependent on that. You know, my body can actually cope with it perfectly well as a filter, as a walking, talking tree. So that's where I believe my evolution is going to take me. I believe the destination is immortality. I may not make it myself in this lifetime, but I damn sure the next generation will. I don't want some 17-year-old kid wiping my ass in an old people's home, you know, because I can't do it. That's not going to be me, I can assure you that.
That's not a very graceful way to die, is it?
It's not, is it?
No, it's not.
It's not a graceful way to go out when you're 500 years old.
No, it's not cool. Genesis, is there something you would like to say in closing to wrap this up?
For me, I think the most important thing is for people just to take it easy, take a slow transition, and just believe that this is real, and just believe that it's possible.
It is doable. You're walking proof of that.
It is doable for sure. For sure. If I was to walk into McDonald's today, tomorrow, the truth would still be the same. You know, you have to believe that. And if you're on the fence and you weren't sure, be sure, because it's real. Your body's a self-sustaining organism, and it works in conjunction with the elements of nature: earth, fire, water, air.
I want to thank Genesis so much for sharing his time and conversations with us today.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It's been a difficult journey because I share a lot about how it's a struggle to get my message out, because my message is real. It's not love and light, and people generally don't want to hear the doom and gloom side. All they want to do is the love and light, and they want to feel spiritual and all loved up. And I don't necessarily do that. You know, my love is tough love. So it's a blessing to have people like you to highlight my message and to get it out there.
Thank you very much for being here, Genesis.